We'll just go ahead and get started. My name is Jeanette. I am with Digital Niche Agency, and we're so happy and excited to have you guys here for this exclusive behind the scenes look at the Windjammer Way. So on today's webinar, we're going to be exploring a few things, the principles around the Windjammer Way, mission, model, why now is the perfect time to kind of sail into a more personal, sustainable, and unforgettable cruise experience. We're also going to hear from our lovely team. But most importantly, we're going to hear how you can get involved before our equity crowdfunding campaign closes soon on Vicinity Capital. So whether you're a seasoned investor, a travel enthusiast, or just simply someone who believes in preserving history with purpose, you are in the right place. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and pass it.
Okay, thank you, Jeanette. I'm Charles Kropke, CEO of the Windjammer Way. First, I want to thank DNA, your agency, and I want to thank our capital partners, Vicinity Capital, which Josh is with. And also a special thank you to our Director of Marketing, Taylor Bradley, who is actually centered in Portugal. So I want you to imagine that a unique, legendary brand with 61 years of history goes under. And it goes under because of poor family succession issues. I want you to imagine that tens of thousands of dedicated fans and diehard fans lose the company that they love so much. Now imagine that the brand and its product is quantum times more relevant than any time in its history. Allow me to tell you about Windjammer. Windjammer was started in 1947 in Miami, Florida. It was operated from 1947 to 2008. It was founded by a gentleman by the name of Michael Burke, who grew the company through bootstrap. As he could afford it over the decades, he got bigger and bigger boats until he eventually ended up with some of the greatest sailing vessels in history. The ships that had belonged to the Vanderbilt family, the ship that was ordered by E.F. Hutton for his wife, Marjorie Merriweather Post, the ship of Aristotle Onassis, and even a great White Fleet cod fishing ship from the Portuguese cod fishing industry. This created a culture. So this is a culture of fun, a culture of exploration, of adventure and curiosity. As a kid, I marveled at the culture of Windjammer as it was advertised in the back pages of National Geographic. Showed a beautiful sailing vessel and alluring words of the tropics. In 2008, I attended the SAD auction of the company's headquarters here in Miami and purchased a lot of the company's artifacts. I did that in anticipation of today. So today, we are able to move forward because in April of 2023, I was able to purchase the SV Mandalay in what they call a private sale by the government of the Supreme Court of Grenada. This was a ship that was ordered by E.F. Hutton for his wife in 1923, considered the most lavish sailing vessel of that era. The ship was owned by Columbia University later on, and it logged 1 million ocean miles as a scientific ship, proving basically the continental drift theory. So this is, to this very day, one of the most scientific ships in the world, if not the most scientific. In 1980, it was purchased by Windjammer Barefoot Cruises, and it was re-outfitted as a cruise ship, as their Queen of the Caribbean. So now, by private treaty with the government of Grenada, this ship is ours. It's a proud 236-foot, three-masted schooner, and it's really beautiful. So the next move was to tug the Mandalay from Grenada to Trinidad. The Mandalay was not operational at the time, and our purpose was to get it to maritime preservation in Port of Spain, Trinidad, so that the ship could be restored. There in Port of Spain, we have maritime preservation, which is one of the world's greatest tall ship specialists in restorations. And the irony of all ironies is it's owned by Michael Burke Jr., who, as a teenager, helped restore the Amandale the first time around under his father's company. Now he's at it again. So we're in the cruise business. What does that market look like? Well, the overall tourism market in the world is $1.5 trillion. Of that, the cruise business is about $66.2 billion. Now, that's still a wide number. We have to get down to the specialty cruise market, which we are a part of. And that market is about $2 billion. We figured with a very conservative 4% of that number that we could get to 79.2%, $79.2 million for what we could earn in this industry. That's a very small percentage of the overall industry, and we're pretty sure we can hit it. The other interesting thing about our industry is we're experiencing 3 times growth in our sub-industry, which is our experiential travel industry. That industry is growing for the reason of my next valley of words here. We're looking at the large cruise companies out there. And what we know is for them to maintain a stable market, they have to, and stable pricing to keep their large audiences coming in. The only way that they can do that is to create ever larger ships, larger and larger. And according to the most recent surveys of ships that are being ordered by the big 3, they are looking at 8,000 to 9,000 passengers on the next generations of ships that are coming out. Picture a crowd of that size descending upon a small, quaint Caribbean town, and you will understand why our segment of the market is growing at such a rapid pace. So where are we now? Well, we've already raised $3 million towards our goal of $9 million. We've secured a strategic partnership with a red hot liquor brand. And we have engaged our former supporters of the former Windjammer Barefoot Cruises. We have over 4,000 media followers and over 300,000 engagements. We also have extensive mailing lists. We have probably sold out our inaugural cruise over 10 times. We have started to re-engage affinity groups, charters. We've begun reaching out to audiences for sports, music, singles, LGBT, destination weddings, reunions, corporate groups, and family groups in the summer. We anticipate that 35 to 40% of our future revenues will be business to business, contracting with these groups. The rest will be open to our regular individual travel bookings for week-long and 2-week cruises. We're looking at 5 revenue streams. And we are projecting that the first year we'll make $6 million and that the second year we'll make $15 million. So why the jump? The jump because by the second year, we hope to have our second ship in operation as all part of how we have financed this entire operation or projected it. The assumptions are that on an average 7-day cruise, we'll bring in about $5,300 for the passenger part of it. And this is based on 308 sailing days of the year, so it gives us room for repairs and other things that might come up. We project growing into a 92% occupancy rate. But I want to tell you that the occupancy rate, as compared to, as you may know it, for hotels and resorts, is apples and oranges. Cruises figure their occupancy rate different. Ours, we expect 92%. So I want to go into the 5 different revenue streams that we have. The first is the cruise itself, purchasing the tickets for your cruise, for your cabin. The second is the onboard bar. The third is actually our shore excursions, which my business partner, Zach Luttrell, and I have a special knowledge that goes through decades, and you'll hear about that in a second. The fourth is the sea chest. That's our online and onboard retail division for goods that are branded by the company. And finally, we have our extensive experience membership groups. We have membership groups that we have designed that will be purchasable. How can we achieve these numbers? Well, we can achieve the numbers that we're projecting because of the team that we have. My background is I own a 34-year-old expeditionary tour company of Florida and the Caribbean called Dragonfly Expeditions. I also had founded Margaritaville Travel Adventures, which was the original travel arm of the Margaritaville brand. My business partner, Zach Luttrell, he's in another section of the business, but also in travel. He's on the sports side. Zach was the creator of the Roaring Riot, which is an organization that does international travel and national travel based around the Carolina Panthers. We have Taylor Bradley, who is in Portugal. She actually has a lot of international business experience and knows how to move the cultures that we're addressing down in the Caribbean and worldwide. We have Captain Julian Peterson. Captain Peterson started as a deckhand with the original Windjammer barefoot cruises and worked his way up to captain, and he is excellent. People love him. He has great experience. The ship is safe in its hands. Then we have Boston Brown, our executive chef. Now, Boston, he's actually known for a couple of things. He actually bakes his own cakes for special occasions, and he's got these elaborate cakes that he makes. He has sticky buns every morning for the guests. He buys fresh fish by hailing in small fishermen and bringing them up to the boat with supplies. And he gets tropical fruits from the islands. Last but not least, we have Mashup Thompson. He was a beloved long-term Windjammer bartender. He's actually our chief bartender. And what's interesting is that each of the last three gentlemen that I mentioned have over 30 years with the Windjammer brand in the Caribbean. So how do we plan to deploy the capital that we're raising right now? We're looking to raise $9 million, which will have a $16 million pre-money valuation. So that's about a 9 to 11% preferred return. We're already $3 million down. So we've already got $3 million in the bank, or actually more, and things are going well. Today, we're offering you the opportunity to be involved before this particular campaign closes. So we're going to use the money for 4 different objectives. One is restoring the Mandalay. Second is purchasing our second ship. Third is creating our reservation system. And fourth is ramping up our marketing in anticipation of the Mandalay going out to sea in about 15, 16 months. I want to stress that we are a Caribbean-centric company. We're all about the Caribbean. That's the only place we'll go. The future is the Caribbean, but the entire Caribbean. We're going to start with our home port for Mandalay in St. George's, Grenada. It will travel north into the beautiful Grenadines Islands up to St. Vincent and then back again. Later in the season, Mandalay will travel to St. Martin and do the French West Indies. And at the end of the season, before the hurricanes come, we'll be traveling through the British Virgin Islands. So gathering my notes here. Okay. In the coming years, it's our intention to return to the places that Windjammer had a history. The first place that Windjammer's history started was the Bahamas. We intend to go back to the Bahamas. The second place that we're looking at and waiting for is a free Cuba. Many people haven't seen the beautiful islands and the beauty of the actual mainland of Cuba, and we want to be on that exploration. We're also looking at the ABC Islands down on the top of South America, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, the San Blas Islands, Costa Rica. We're looking at basically all of the islands up to the Yucatan of Mexico, the cenotes in the Yucatan of Mexico. So in order to achieve this, we are looking at 2 different ships to purchase. Well, actually 3 different ships. One of them is a former Windjammer ship. It's in Portugal. It's the SV Polynesia. It needs a full restoration also. We're also looking at a former Soviet tall ship, which is basically laid up in an eastern port right now. It is a very large ship, 360 foot long. And we have another ship, which is a Scandinavian former naval vessel that we're looking at. One of these will be our second choice for the restoration. So I would like to invite you to envision yourself on a Windjammer cruise. I would like you to imagine feeling the teak beneath your bare feet, of experiencing the furling of giant white canvas sails against the backdrop of turquoise waters, see the distant verdant green islands luring you forward. You can sleep under the deck, under a pallet of stars on the top deck of the ship. You can feel the salt spray against your skin and wonder about far-flung ports as you channel your long dormant childhood pirate. These are yours to capture on a Windjammer cruise. So I invite you to come aboard. The time is right, the market is right, and the team is right. And down in the Caribbean, the trade winds are beckoning. We are the Windjammer Way. I'm inviting you to join us in this investment. And to speak a little bit about that, I turn things over to Josh Rawlings of Vicinity Capital.
Thanks, Charles, and to everybody on the call. At Vicinity, we're very excited to be able to partner with Windjammer on this. We love the momentum that's been built already and are excited to be able to now tell you about this. So our job not only is here to support Windjammer and the team, but also any investor that's interested. So our contact information will be up, but this is a direct link to the page that you could go to review a lot of the information that was just shared with you, but also more of the details and technical parts of this around the investment. But to give you just a quick overview before we open it up to questions, Charles mentioned the 16 million pre-money valuation, 9 million that's being raised. So effectively, a little over a third of the company is being offered to investors to participate in this raise. And the preferred return means that investors are able to get that 9 up to 11%, depending on the tier of investment, preferred equity treatment in the raise, which means that's the first money that goes out is to investors to get that 9 up to 11% before distributions are made to all owners on a pro rata basis. So this gives you a variety of tiers, in addition to some perks that are exciting for anybody that it is a fan or wants to take a cruise. This goes into a lot more of the details there. So we're happy to open it up for questions and dive in on anything from the business plan to the structure and investment. But there you go. That's direct email and phone numbers if you want to reach out to us directly following this.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So that was a great presentation. As mentioned, this is now the time for open Q&A. You can drop your questions in the Q&A chat. Alternatively, there is a button at the bottom where you can raise your hand and we can unmute you and you can just ask your question live. I've also dropped the link directly to that Vicinity Capital page there in the chat. I can drop it one more time. And you can go and look at the offering, watch the video, learn as much as you want about the campaign from there. But this is really the time to ask those questions. So let's see. One of the first questions that I'm seeing is, what is your long-term vision for the company 5 or 10 years down the line? And do you actually have an exit strategy?
So that we have very answers to that. One of the actual projection we know, we would like to have between 6 and 8 ships circumnavigating the various routes of the Caribbean, to be a major force in the small cruise industry, specifically to the Caribbean basin. As far as the exit strategy, it's always possible for us to go public, in which case people can get a great return on their money. But even as a private company with distributions, it is a great offering. There is so much growth that we would prefer to kind of see what the future unfolds for us. But there, even if someone would like to sell their shares because of whatever reason, the company is going to be actively in the market to buy back those shares because we believe in what we're doing to that extent.
Okay, awesome.
I saw, I'm sorry, I saw Dan raised your hand. Since I saw that first, we're gonna allow you to ask your question.
Awesome. Okay, well, let me
Unmute.
see.
Got it. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
This is Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Yes.
Hey, so yeah, real quick, Dan Pulowski. I'm calling from Washington, D.C. I've been a long time friend of Zach's. We met in the university at 18, I think, or 19. He was DJing, and he hasn't stopped doing what he's doing. I'm really proud of him. That's how I got here. Awesome breakdown, Charles. Thank you so much for the summary, and Josh also. My question is to Charles. I saw that number, 308 days of sailing, and you want to sort of reserve remaining 365 for, you said, repairs or updating. Where'd you get that number? I'm asking because I know these are legacy ships. I say plural, and I'm just curious, how do you have a supplier? Is there's someone you're going to be able to get parts from? I'm just curious where you got that number.
Sure. Well, we got that number from a number of variances. One of them is there are times when you're transferring the ships based on seasonality, hurricanes, and storms. So sometimes those transfers are sold, and sometimes for expediency, they're not. There are no passengers on board as we move the ships quickly to another position. But every ship should be maintained roughly, 20 to 30 days out of the year. Maintenance and updates and things that you can't do when you have the quick turnarounds. I mean, our ships do a turnaround within the same day, offloading the former passengers that had been on the week before and then bringing the new ones on and repositioning with all the provisions. So there is very little time to do longer term maintenance or things that you don't want to do while passengers are on board. So we actually crunched those numbers with the different factors, and we came up with a 308-day conservative estimate of what our season will be like. We're obviously going to try to beat that number and be at sail for longer, but we want to contribute a number that people can see as as viable.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks, Charles.
Okay, awesome. It looks like we have some other questions that are coming through in the chat. This first one is from Christine asking, how do you think the current world market situation in the US tariffs affect you?
I mean, we're looking at a long-term story. The tariff issues probably have a life about 2 years before they're resolved one way or another. But this has been a dream that we have been working on for decades, and we have weathered a lot of things, including the devastation of coronavirus on cruise ships. So we're certain that whatever the tariffs throw at us, we will be able to surmount that. A large number of the passengers on the Windjammer boats traditionally, and we think going into the future, are actually Americans. And so I don't know how international pressures and so forth will affect those numbers in a negative way.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, we have some other ones in the chat. Yes, this presentation will be able to be shared. So there are other people that may be signed up for the webinar that aren't actually here. So we will be sending a webinar recap, and within that, we can include that PDF. So let's see, other than that, I'm seeing another question here from Terry. So For those of us that lost money in the failed Llama fiasco that Windjammer did, we have skepticism. Any involvement of the Burke family gives me pause to invest.
Yeah, well, the Lemaire issue was, I think, 1986 or 87. It was an unregulated timeshare product. It did not go through the financial markets. It was offered by the company. There were pretty loud broadcasts of the company's financial woes at the time when this occurred. So investors at least had the opportunity to do some due diligence and find out that it was a precarious investment due to the overall finances of the main company. But because we love this brand and we love the legacy of it, there are mitigating circumstances. We, as you can see, working with Josh and Vicinity, are offering our shares. The time that it took for us to get this product out was because of everything, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and meeting the regulations of doing it the right way. I want to emphasize that this is the first time that anyone has used the conventional going to the market and selling shares in the company as a means to raise money for the company. Had they done that back with the old Windjammer Barefoot Cruises, maybe the financial situation would not have turned out the way it was. We're sorry for their losses, but we're the fourth owner since that happened. I hardly think that, we can, as far as Mike Burke, his expertise is engineering, and yes, he's a member of the family, but I, amongst many other people, believe in redemption stories. He's not an owner of the company. He's contracting, and we're holding him to accountability for the excellent job that we expect him to do.
And I'll add to what Charles was saying. This is actual equity ownership in the company. So as the asset gets restored and there's a valuable boat that is owned, anybody that's investing is part owner of that. So not only the future orientation of the business and growing the value of it, but the assets of the business as well go to bolster the investment. So I can going through the process and Charles and Zach and team being willing to go through the process to do this with the SEC and registering with us is a pretty intense process, and gets to a place where we're able to be very transparent and have full disclosures and full opportunity to invest in real equity in the real company. So I think that with that, you can see the brand and the history and all of the strength there, but now with the right structure to make this offer something that that can be investable.
Thanks, Josh.
Very great. We're getting a few more questions in. This one is from Rob. I've sailed on various ships with the previous Windjammer organizations, including sailing on Vela last week. What competition do you see going forward?
Well, first of all, Vela belongs to Island Windjammers, and it is a very well-maintained ship. They're a very good company. We like them a lot. They're smaller, so their experiences are, I think, between 15 and 30 people. Our ship is larger. We have basically 70 passengers on the Mandalay at full capacity, and we intend to have a maximum of 175 on the largest ship that we'll be offering. So we kind of consider ourselves, relatives in a sense, or at least from our point of view. And we have a friendly stance towards all of the smaller operators in the Caribbean. What we're trying to do is offer an alternative to the very large cruise ships, which in Windjammer culture are the foo-foo ships, we call them. So.
Okay, awesome. We have some more coming in. This one is just about Windjammer Way memberships, and maybe are there any perks or exclusive access experience for investors?
Yes, there will be, and they ramp up based on the investment level too. But they offer you first shot on very popular cruises, merchandise, access to on land parties and events that we are holding, invitations to headquarters in Miami. We have a lot of special things that we are working on, and that's in the wheelhouse of Zach because of his experience with the Roaring Riot and all of the membership perks that he's created for the NFL fans of the Carolina Panthers. We're modeling exactly what our full offering will be, but we have some pretty exciting things for the future members of the Windjammer clubs.
All right, cool. This one's from John. Can you break out the percentage of the cap table / structure?
I'll give a quick overview, but then direct people to the page. If you go and look at the Form C, you can get a lot of good information that's downloadable in the document section or the link directly to the SEC page. But Charles and Zach, going into this raise, they're the 50/50 owners of the company, and from there, they're offering equity that would be through this offering alone. So it's actually pretty simple, but you can go in and dig more into the details through the Form C documents on the page.
Awesome. And we just dropped that link again, so you guys can check it out there. We do have another question coming in from Judith. What pricing levels are you anticipating?
So we don't know for sure. We are going to work hard to keep that price down because we know that we don't want to have people who can't afford to do this. So right now we're looking at about $5,300. That's double occupancy for a 7-day cruise on the ship. So that's a little more expensive than the traditional model, but what we came up with was that the traditional pricing for Windjammer was never enough to maintain the ships in a state that we want to keep them. And that is a very important aspect. We are preserving these historic ships. Mandalay is 102 years old. So that's what we're looking at right now, about $5,300 double occupancy average.
Okay, awesome. And then I have another question. How will funds from this raise be used to support the project?
Very specifically, we are restoring the Mandalay. Secondly, we are dedicating the funds for, let's see, 4 things on our list there. We have a marketing, we have our reservation system that we're going to bring up. Let's see, did I forget one there? Yeah, I think that's the four things that we want to do. Restore the Mandalay.
Restoration and acquisition, marketing, operations and staffing, technology, infrastructure, and of course, building a wonderful website and membership system and everything.
That's what I missed, the membership, the website.
Did you want to talk more about the membership aspect? Or I'm sorry, we did mention that. That was kind of part of the perks tying into it.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So this one, I feel like we also kind of spoke about this, but can bring it up again. What did you learn from the previous sale Windjammer Co. as to what not to do to become more successful this time around?
I think that the key thing for what happened previously was that you can't go into this without the capital. In other words, you have to raise the money up front to bring the ship to 100%. You can't expect that the ship and the company can prosper using the funds that it is generating to do the repairs. It's just, you'll never catch up. You have to front load everything by raising the capital, doing a thorough 100% restoration, and then going out into the market. I think that's probably the top lesson from what happened by the previous company.
Great, thank you for that. Let's see. I think I have 2 more questions. So if you guys have any other questions or concerns, please raise your hand. I'm going to ask these final 2 questions as we wrap everything up. So this one is, why is now the time to invest? It's kind of a double question. So why is now the time to invest? And then what happens What are the next steps after the campaign closes? As I know, it is looking to close soon.
Sure. So the first, why is it the right time? Because the numbers for cruises worldwide are galloping. Numbers are increasing across the board, specifically for the specialty market. And you may have seen recently that other players are getting into the business. The Ritz-Carlton has launched a yacht now, a small cruising. Four Seasons intends to do the same. So there's a lot of attention in the specialty market, but even without that, even the large cruise lines are showing increasing numbers and increasing penetration of the potential market. What's next for us? Well, we're going to be raising capital for a while until we get to our total goals. We have a second ship to acquire, to restore, a company to build. We are basically neck deep into the process of figuring out what kind of technological and safety features the new Mandalay will employ, what kind of materials we'll use, what we'll be doing differently so that the ship is more sustainable, is more affordable to operate. There are a lot of different things that we will also be broadcasting as we move along. But that's what's next. It's going to be a very hectic pace from this moment on.
All right, onward and upward. All right, so that concludes all of our questions. Oh, did one more just come in? Okay, this one is, will you offer Wi-Fi to passengers while on board?
We are definitely going to have Wi-Fi. We are not sure whether that is going to be something that we charge for or something that's included. We haven't gotten to that point. But I also saw another question, which was, will our ship be SOLAS compliant? SOLAS means safety of life at seas. And absolutely, that's one of the factors that is going into this restoration. The previous ship was not SOLAS compliant, meaning that there were many ports that it could not visit, especially those of European countries or European territories. Our ship will be fully SOLAS compliant, which means it'll meet the latest safety features of ships at sea.
Awesome, thank you. And it looks like this is just some feedback for the page on Vicinity. So Josh, if you want to take a look at that. Any other final words, Charles, Taylor, Josh? I know we have Shane and Wilson on as well, before we wrap things up here.
No,
I just want to thank. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're in queue. I just want to I just want to thank everyone for coming and asking questions and challenging us and being interested in this. It's a really incredible opportunity for us that we're passionate about, and we're going to really do our best to bring the romance of tall ship sailing to the Caribbean, and it's really exciting. And having you on board in any capacity, your support means a lot.
And for those who are from the former experience, who are worried about whether we're going to get it right, we're going to work and work and work until we get it just perfectly tuned, so that this experience kind of mirrors the great experiences that people have had since the decades of 1947.